Hello, fellow chopperoos. The Big Chopperoo and Safety Dan here.
Hey.
Now, if you've been following our show on a regular basis, you know that I've been building this wine station for the last few weeks now.
Weeks? Try months.
Well, whatever. At any rate, in building this project, I realized there was several standalone lessons that could be applied to just about anything you're doing out there. And this was another place for one. Now, on the last quick tip, I was actually making the top, and I had to make these uncommon miter angles for it. Now, in this episode, I'm actually going to be attaching the top, and that posed a new problem. See, I have this drawer in the front, and then there's a fixed shelf underneath it. And this drawer is only about 3 inches, so that doesn't give me any room to put a fastener, a screw, or any sort in there. So, how did I do this? Well, let's pick up where I'm at with the build at this point. So besides using glue and biscuits for these mitered ends, I also put in a couple of pocket screws to hopefully really hold it in place. Now, to hold the top in place to the rest of the unit, well, I guess I could put a couple of nails in there. The nails would still allow the wood to maybe move a little bit, but I really don't like the idea of seeing nails on it. And I certainly don't have any room to put some screws from the inside up into it because the drawer's in the way. So I'm going to try and use a little method that I saw in an old book, and it kind of acts like a dovetail key. Let me show you the steps, and then we'll find out together if the method works or not. So what I've done to the top so far here is I've put a couple of holes in, and I'm using a 3/8 bit, and I put some tape on the end of it to mark what my depth wants to be. Once that tape starts sweeping off the sawdust pieces, I know I'm at my depth. Okay, the reason I'm using 3/8 is because that's the size that will allow this screw head to go down into it. Now from there, I'm using some of these dowel pin center points, and I'm going to put those into each of the 4 holes. Now I'm bringing the top back on, and I know when I put this top on where its final resting point is going to be. It's flush in the back, and it's got about a 1/2 inch overhang all the way around. But that's the final resting point. That's not where I want to make an impression with those dowel pin center points. I'm actually going to move the top back 3/4 of an inch. So let me take a tape measure here and measure this. Alright, I got the measurement set. Again, 1/2 inch overhang in the back, or a 3/4 inch overhang in the back, 1/2 inch overhang on the sides. And now I want to push down, make a good impression where those center point pins are. Alright, let me see how I did. Oh yeah, great. I can see the marks clearly. Now that's where I'm going to be putting a screw in. And the screw that I'm going to put in here, the depth the screw is going to go in is going to be the depth that I made the hole with the tape. Also, too, make sure you're using a screw that's not going to come through the other side, exposing it on the top. Alright, let me do that, and then I'll show you the next step. I have the screws put into the bottom side of the top, And to make sure that the screws are down enough, I'm using this depth gauge, which is set at the same depth as what the hole was, which is right around 3/8 of an inch deep. So the screws sit 3/8 of an inch up. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure when I put this on that my top, well, first of all, I want to make sure that the screws go in the hole. And then second, I want to make sure that the top remains flush. Okay, that part looks good. But you'll notice that the top is still sitting far back. It needs to go forward. Remember, I got that 3/4 of an inch overhang in the back. That needs to go forward. So what I'm going to do next is remove this, and I have to create a slot or a trench for that screw to move forward. So even though I have to move it forward 3/4 of an inch, I've marked off 1 inch here. That gives me a little bit of wiggle room because the size of the head of the screw. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to drill a couple of holes. I have a 1/4 inch bit now in my drill, and again I have the tape on it set for the depth that I want. And with a chisel, I'm going to create that trench. Clean out that waste. Now you can see that the idea is that the screw head goes in and the trench is slightly smaller than the head of that screw. Thereby, the chamfer on the screw head is hopefully going to wedge itself in there, and that should prevent our top from coming up. So we'll find out here. Hey, that worked real nice. I could, if I was strong enough, I could lift this whole thing up, but that top isn't going anywhere. And it should allow my drawer to open and close. Hey, this is awesome. Great. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next step. I like the way the top is sitting on it, but probably just to make sure that no one bumps this and it should, the top should come off. I think I'm going to put a bracket here on the back side that will just prevent the top from moving back, and I don't think that baby's ever going to come off. So there you go. That's the last of the quick tips for this wine station, and next week I'm going to reveal the complete build for it.
Quick tips for a wine station, right?
Well, yeah, we got like 5 really good lessons out of this wine station. I mean, this is a unique, one-of-a-kind wine station. Look, it has glasses that will hold the glasses for you. I have extra storage for bottles over here. Not to mention, this has the New Air wine fridge, which is dual zoned for different temperatures for all your wine.
Okay.
And
now, wait a minute. You got 5 quick tips out of a wine station.
yeah,
I didn't know it was a wine station, man. I've been using it for my day for the last couple months. Go ahead.
Well, I guess that could work too. Well, if you like what you saw today, please subscribe, leave your comments, and follow us every week for new videos, tips, and more. Until next week, keep on dancing. Or drinking.